Hey guys, Ali Husseini here from Local Knowledge with a Mercury quick tip for you. Today I want to talk about barotrauma and as that relates to fish and especially bottom fish. Barotrauma is when you bring a fish up from the deep and the gases in its body expand because of the pressure differential from the deep waters where it lives to the surface pressure. Rush and I, we love to bottom fish. Groupers, snappers, rock caught out this way. It's just a lot of fun. But as a simple fact of bottom fishing at those depths, you are gonna hook fish and bring fish to the surface that you don't want, can't legally keep. And if you let him go, we've all seen it, he's just gonna float away from the boat. The birds are gonna peck him to death. Really not the responsible thing to do. In order to prevent wasting awesome fish from our ocean, we like to release those fish, but you have to release them at depth. Basically send them back down to a depth similar to where you got them from, and everything will push back in. In order to do that, you basically need to have a release rig. And there's two different ways that I've done it through the past that I'd like to share with you. Now, my normal way of doing it is this very handy device. It's called a sequelizer. All of the charter boats on the West Coast are required to carry these. And what it does is you basically just clamp it onto the fish's mouth. When it goes down to a certain depth, you're gonna clip this onto a line with the weight, goes down to a certain depth, it's got what's called a hydrostatic release. There's a spring in here that senses the pressure and pops the jaws open, releases the fish swims away. And I can tell you firsthand that this definitely works because on an average trip, we will send dozens of fish down on it. If it wasn't working, they'd pop back up to the surface and we would see them. There is another way to do it, and this is what we used to do back in the old days before the sequelizer. We would make what we call a release rig, and there's really nothing to it. You're gonna want a nice heavy sinker because some of those bigger bottom fish, they have a lot of air in them or gases, and they're gonna wanna float. This is a 5-pounder. And what we would do with this typically is we have a rod, usually an electric reel because we have that luxury, on the other side of the boat where we're not fishing. And if we get a fish that we're gonna release, whether with the sequelizer or this, that thing's standing by. So you got your heavy sinker, like I said, 3-pound minimum, 5 is even better. I put it on a little snap swivel so I can quickly unsnap the rig from it. Couple of feet, a 60-pound, 80-pound test. This is your standard offshore fishing J hook. Now, what I would do is I would file that barb down so it wasn't sharp anymore. Just kind of round it off. In this case, I didn't do that, but you're gonna tie the sinker to the eye and basically rig that hook upside down. And then in the loop of the hook, you're gonna do about another 2 feet or so of that same leader and then put a swivel on the top just to prevent spinning. This gets clipped onto the electric reel through the swivel. And then what you're gonna do is put the sinker in the water and the hook kind of at the water line, sort of bending over the side of the boat. Take this hook and put it through the jaw of the fish in a nice soft tissue spot where you're not gonna cause any damage. And then you just lower this sucker down, fish still attached, going down like that. And just the float of the fish will keep the fish on the hook. Now, once you get down to 150 feet, sometimes I go 200 just to play it safe, just give this a quick yank, pull it up, the fish falls off, your rig comes back up, and the fish swims off safely. Whether you're using the release rig or you're using the sequelizer, probably the most important thing is to be ready, right? You don't want that fish being out of the water any longer than he has to be. So as soon as we pull up to the spot and we know we're fishing, we'll take out that bottom rod and we'll have it in the rod holder. The minute we get a fish that we don't want, either hook them up, clip them on, send them down, bring the rig back up, set the weight on the deck, and go right back to fishing. I hope this tip helps you save some bottom fish and also do the right thing for your fishery. If you want more videos like this, tips, tricks, recipes, all kinds of good stuff, check out the Mercury dock line.